As of last night and this morning, women's professional bowling is dead. You're judging me.
No, I'm not.
You are. Okay. Hello. And welcome back to our channel. Today is not a vlog. We have some tea time. We don't have a lot of these, but today is the day for some tea time that I know everyone is excited to hear because of the new news that has been brought to everyone's attention today. Nate is driving. The reason why we were in the car and I am bringing this breaking news to you right now is because we still have some time driving. We've been driving since 4 o'clock in the morning and we are on the way to a PBA stop, making some stops along the route. You know how the vlog is, making our duties around the world. We're making some stops before the PBA stop, but that is our final destination, is actually getting to the PBA PTQ, where Nate is going to make it and we will have some tournament content from there. That's why I'm in the car, and I wanted to make sure that I got this content out to you guys before, because this is somewhat irrelevant to the rest of our channel in terms of what we're doing right now. So I just want to get this out here so it's done and get all the questions answered and we can continue on with our program as scheduled. Let me bring up the email so that way I can make sure I have all of my facts in front of me before I start speaking. If you, however, do live under a rock and do not know what I'm talking about, I am about to spill some tea about the 2025 PWBA and what that looks like. Now, I see a lot of stuff going on online. This honestly just happened last night. They just told the members, so this is all still fresh. It's not like any of us knew it was happening. From what I know, no one knew this was actually coming and was going to be presented to us, even from the Players Committee. Now, I don't know if that's the truth. I don't know if that's a fact. That's just what I'm thinking based on how other things have been run in the past, where we do have a committee, but they don't necessarily get to actually make changes. It's kind of like a what do you think, and they might make them, they might not make those changes, but I do not think that the committee voted on this in terms of what we are about to speak on for the changes for the 2025 PWBA Tour and future years to come. Now, before we get into the news and everything that happened, I do want to kind of give some history and just background to why I'm saying what I'm saying. It's just because I have been on tour since the first year of the relaunch, 2015, where we had the town hall meeting. I have been here for every meeting that has happened in the last 10 years. So I have kind of seen all the changes that have happened throughout all of the time. So I am speaking from pretty much all of the experience of what has actually happened over the last 10 years on the tour and what is to come. I just want to preface that because some people might not know that. Let's get into it. As of last night and this morning, women's professional bowling is dead. Now, women's bowling is not dead. Women's bowling is thriving. We have way more college opportunities for women that we ever had when I went into college. We have way more youth bowlers bowling junior gold. We have way more youth bowlers bowling youth tournaments. We have way more youth tournaments to bowl. So it's not a matter of bowlers not bowling. There's participation happening in our sport. However, we have seen struggles over the last 10 years with the women's tour. I do not think the lack of participation that we have struggled with over the years necessarily has to do with the women wanting to bowl. I think it has to do with how everything was ran as a whole and how it was maybe sometimes financially harder for women to actually bowl because of the way the events have been run or how they've been structured in the past. Now, when it comes to the terms of like what's happening right now, the PWBA has decided to end all memberships. So that's why I say professional women's bowling is dead. Women's bowling is not dead, but now the term professional does not technically exist. But again, we are still having events. They are still hosting events as the PWBA, but we are just no longer members. Now, this might seem crazy because for the last 10 years, we have all had a membership that wanted to bowl professionally and be called a pro. A lot of women that are newer to the tour probably don't know a lot of what happened prior to the last 10 years, where it had been 12 years where we didn't have a tour. During that 12 years, there was events hosted by USBC and the PWBA that were professional events, but weren't membership based because we did not have memberships because the tour was folded. I did participate in some of those as a youth bowler when there was not a traditional women's tour as we know it now and before. Now, my experience from bowling in the last 10 years of the tour and those events when it was not actually physically a tour, there wasn't much difference. So I don't really see that being as big a difference going forward, because we already had events like that where there was not members. Now, there is going to be that blurred line between all the rules that USBC has for their events and all of amateur events around the world, but that will all work itself out in time. Now, I know there's a lot of concern from the women and a lot of women that are new to tour, but like I said, for those women that did bowl on tour previously, we've already kind of been in this space where we were bowling events that no one was really a member. And again, it wasn't much of a different feel. We are still bowling for a title. I know Diana Zavilova bowled for a title when she was in college and won Queens, and it still counts as a title. She still won the event. It was an amazing event. I remember being there. It was the same thing, and it was way before the tour. So she still holds that title. It's going to be the same thing going forward. That's what a lot of people online and the women need to remember bowling on tour, that this has already been a place that we've been in, and there's not going to be much of a difference when it comes to what we're actually bowling for, because again, we're still competing against the same women that are coming from all around the world to compete in these events. So the biggest point that I want to make, and I'm going to get into a story that I have never told before to the public because I was not allowed to, and this is why I'm actually really excited about this, and the rule that I feel like a lot of people aren't really understanding, that the fact that they took out the professional part of it, yes, we are still going to be held to a code of conduct and how we conduct ourselves when we bowl. But however, they have given us the freedom to now have more open speech and say what we want to on social media pertaining to the PWBA. What they did by taking that membership away is they are now giving us the ability to market ourselves and be ourselves on social media or not on social media. I don't necessarily think everyone needs to be on social media if they don't want to be, but now every girl can find her own voice and not have to worry about what could potentially happen because we are signing those memberships and code of conducts and all those rules that we had. Now, we still, again, are going to have rules in place when we are bowling the events, but once we step out of the events, because we are not held to that professional standard and there's no memberships, it's actually way better for us for a sport, because there's plenty of sports like that. And I didn't think about it till last night when Nate was kind of talking about it, how most other sports don't really hold memberships. So if we think about like the NFL and the NBA, these professional organizations, they are considered professionals at the highest level, but they do not hold a membership with the organization. Now, they do hold a contract with an organization that is within those organizations, but they do not themselves sign up to be a member and are considered a professional. I'm sure we're all sitting here thinking, okay, LeBron is still the highest professional in his sport. Patrick Mahomes is still the highest professional. Tom Brady is the GOAT. They are still professionals in their sport, but they did not hold what we would consider a membership of being a professional membership of their sport, if that makes sense to people. So this is nothing new that's in other sports. To me, being a professional just means how you act and how you conduct yourself in your sport and what you do to be a professional, meaning training, doing the things to compete at the highest level in what you do. I will still be going out on tour in the same mind that I would if I was a professional women's bowler. I am one of the few that have a YouTube channel that was on the tour prior to all of this changing. I'm speaking just on my personal experience. I know there are other women that experience similar things to me. It is not for me to speak on their experiences, but I can tell you this has happened to multiple women on tour. And I'm just here to tell my story and make the public understand that this was an issue prior to this year and why this new change is actually a really great thing. Other than us just all being able to speak our minds, the problem is, for a lot of us women who had a social media following, we understand that we, in some ways, needed to be held to a higher standard. Some of us had a bigger voice than others on social media, and just because we had that voice, we would sometimes be given the slap on the hand for certain things behind closed doors, and we were not allowed to speak about them because we were a membership-based organization where we signed papers saying we wouldn't do this, we wouldn't do that, regardless if we agreed with them. If we wanted to bowl on tour and be recognized as a professional athlete on our tour, we could not speak freely about the things that we wanted or post the things we wanted on social media, even if it was just about our personalities, like I said. Something simple as just a personality trait or how we wanted to market ourselves was shunned upon being a member of the PWBA versus now just being able to bowl on tour. So that's the biggest difference, is that I personally was brought into a meeting. I don't remember how long ago now, it's been so long, but I could not speak about this. But I was brought into a meeting with executives at USBC and the PWBA, questioning my intentions on a lot of media that I was posting, maybe just the thumbnail or the way it was written, just worried that it made the PWBA look bad, or they didn't like the way I said things in a video. Now, everything I do on this channel, for those of you who are new or not new, know that I love bowling. I want bowling to get to the highest level that it can be. I want all of us women to be able to compete at the highest level that we each want to, and I want us to bowl for more money. So my point of having my social media channels is to promote bowling to new faces. And that was not really liked by the PWBA when we were under membership organization, where I was held to a standard that they wanted because they wanted to market us a certain way. So this is why it's great for people like me and others that have a social media platform that can get to you guys, where we can really hone in on what we want to bring to you guys, whether it's good or bad. I'm going to use my voice for good, but we are now able to be ourselves and say what we want. And I've seen a couple girls that have competed on tour that they're saying what they want to on social media. And I know a lot of people are upset that now we are not considered professionals, but we need to realize as an organization, the fact we are able to go and express ourselves on social media now, that is a big win for us, because that was something we did not have prior when we were under the professional organization membership style. So this is a big win for us and for USBC and what they are doing for the PWBA. The ball is in our court to promote ourselves however we want to, which is awesome. I wanted to keep this pretty short and sweet because, again, everyone has their own opinion, but this is just my opinion, and my opinion isn't necessarily the best opinion or the worst opinion. This is just my opinion. Like I said, from the last 10 years, seeing everything that's happened, growing the social media platform, being so excited, but then also being told that I can't necessarily say everything I want to. I'm ecstatic that now I can actually be a little bit more vulnerable and tell you guys everything that is going on while I'm on tour, because I could not do this prior. I do want to say that I wish that we had more of a voice. And yes, we have a players committee, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we always have a voice. So I do wish that even though that they gave us that freedom, that the next couple years, I know maybe this year wasn't able to happen because all of this was obviously in the works, and not everything can change at once. We need to recognize that as bowlers and just as people, that when we want change, things cannot just be instant gratification. It does take time. So this is a change that is going to be good for the women. Now, I know some people think that this is like the beginning of the end. Now, I don't necessarily think that's the truth, but I can see that opinion. But now again, it's in our court to really promote ourselves and see what we can do. If we felt that we weren't being promoted properly, now we can do it ourselves. So in reality, it's in our court to actually do what we want and make our tour better. I just want to touch on a couple things to end this video that I really wish would change. I do believe that all of our regionals should be open to everyone. I believe that every player should be able to bowl just like they do on the PBA. The PBA guys bowl against national title holders. They bowl against Pete Weber. They bowl against EJ. They bowl against Simo. They bowl against all those guys in regional events. And I believe that's what actually helps elevate the PBA, because those guys are already getting a taste of what they are seeing when they want to go on the national tour. And if anything, it makes it a little bit more realistic for those people that go to a regional and get their face kicked in the nicest way possible. And they're like, oh, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I am. And they go home and actually try to get better. So I don't necessarily agree with the fact that we're still kind of allowing our regionals to be everyone kind of wins type of event. Now, I know that sounds really bad, but the only way to get better in anything is when you surround yourself with people that are better than you and have maybe a little bit more talent or who work harder than you, that is what's actually going to elevate women's bowling. So I believe that all of us should be bowling against the best in the world so we can compete with them. I know for myself personally, I bowl on the weekends with Nate, and I go to all these events with men because I know that if I can compete against the men, then I can definitely go out and compete against the best women in the world. Now, I do wish that some of the formats would be changed eventually, and we're not always doing the same exact formats week to week. I would like to bowl more match play. I would like to see a doubles event, a team event, some type of thing to get more people involved. It's great to see the best women bowlers in the world, but wouldn't it be even cooler if you could see a newcomer with the best in the world? I know one time I was told a story, can't remember right now who it was, but there was a rookie on the tour back in the old women's tour who got to bowl with a veteran, and they won their title as a doubles. That helped kickstart their career. I apologize for who told me that story. I cannot remember who it was, but it was one of our legends on the women's side, where that really is what kicked her career into gear, where she got to bowl with a veteran, she got to bowl on TV, she got to do that. And you know, that's something that fosters those relationships on our tour, where there's less of a divide between the top and the bottom for those women that really are trying to get on tour and make a name for themselves. Because there's so many women that did not maybe get to compete on tour because we had a membership and they couldn't do it because they had a job. But there's a lot of talented women out there that now are going to be able to bowl and potentially kickstart their career and be able to potentially make something for themselves on the women's tour without any restrictions. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, the only problem I have, and this is going to come with a couple different things that I know people are going to say, the rules that kind of suck in the nicest way possible is that they are prioritizing the top 50. Now, this sucks for me because I happen to be 51st. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that say if you're not in the top 50, you shouldn't be bowling on tour, but that is what makes the tour. If we only had the top 50, where are the prize funds coming from? Not allowing those newcomers to come up is what's going to kill the tour. So you need more than 50 bowlers bowling the tour. With that 51st spot, that puts me in the situation where I now have to make sure that I sign up on time, I don't have priority, and I don't get access to the truck as freely as I would if I was just a member. Now, that does suck for me, but I need to do my due diligence as a player to make sure I sign up on time. And if I get stuck in a PTQ, which I do not believe is going to happen this year because we are bowling in a lot of bigger centers, where if all the women that want to bowl, we will have enough lanes. So I encourage all the women to actually sign up who have a passion for bowling and want to try their luck on the women's tour. I encourage you to come out and don't be scared to bowl the PTQs, because again, if you want to be able to bowl in the main event and bowl well there, you need to be able to beat the women that are in the PTQ. So I fully embrace if I have to bowl a PTQ, because I did finish 51st last year in points, not to a lack of bowling well. I bowled really well and I cashed in almost every event that I bowled, but there was many events I missed because I was still injured, which is unfortunate. I fell a couple points short. I still bowled well, so I am obviously looking forward to next year and having this more freedom to showcase everything to you guys. And yeah, the only thing that really sucks, I don't really know if I'll be able to get my bowling balls from stop to stop. Obviously, a little bit more stressful for travel. Now going into the next tour year, I know that I need to be in top 50 to have priority. So if anything, it kind of gets my butt in gear and knows that I have to make that goal, that I need to be in top 50 to have priority and to have access to the truck. All in all, those that are worried for the women's tour and those that are bowling on the women's tour that are worried, I do not think that this is as big a deal as some people think it is. Again, for me, I'm not in the priority list right now because I didn't bowl everything, but I'm just seeing it as a way to kickstart and get my butt in gear ready for next year, knowing that that is a goal I need to obtain if I want to continue to have that priority on tour next year. So you can always turn this negative that you might see into a positive and use it to motivate yourself for next year. Because like I said, if you have those aspirations to bowl on the women's tour and compete at the highest level, I know personally I do not go out unless I feel like I can win. I'm not just okay with cashing. I want to go out there and beat the best girls on tour and I admire them for their hard work, and I want to continue working hard to get to that level through all of the stuff that I'm going through. But that's what I'm going to continue to do. And yeah, I hope I answered everyone's questions. If you guys have any other questions, leave them down below. I will try to get to them and maybe do a second video where I can answer some of those questions at a later date where I have some more time. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for those who support the channel. For those of you who might be new because of this video, I can't thank you guys enough. And I, again, am so excited that now I have a little bit more freedom to tell you guys all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes on the PWBA tour.